what do these parenting programs include? They all have like similar concepts, similar skills, but they share this principle. It's a pyramid with 3 levels, right? First one is you want to be sure that the relationship is okay, right? If your child is super annoyed with you, whatever you ask them to do, probably it won't work, right? Think of this, if you're a parent, think of this with your boss, right? If you really dislike your boss, you won't be that motivated. If you really like your boss, whatever they tell you, even if it's challenging, you will be motivated, right? So first thing that we usually try to be sure that works is relationship. Especially as a parent, it's challenging not to be nagging your child if they're always misbehaving, right? So it's like a vicious cycle. The other thing that you try to do, right, is to improve positive behaviors. That's easier than decreasing negative behaviors. That generates a more positive cycle of interaction, right? So usually you start with the relationship, then you start improving positive behaviors, and at the top of the pyramid, that means that you spend less time working on that area, is how to decrease negative behaviors. If you remember this principle, you will have kind of the key to all parenting programs, right? This is super important. Are you spending more time in the top of the pyramid trying to tell your kid whenever it's doing something wrong? Or are you spending more time in being sure that you have a good relationship and improving whatever they're doing that's good, right? There's one principle. If you're behaving well, you're not misbehaving, right? So if you put more energy on that side, which is usually more fun and more likable for everyone, you will probably have less need in reducing negative behaviors. Now, let's be a little bit more specific. Here's a more sophisticated version of this pyramid. On the yellow side, you have the skills that you teach to parents. By the way, we can forward this presentation, so don't need to to take pictures for all the slides, right? We're happy to share it, right? This is from Incredible Years. The yellow side is the skills that you teach. On the other side are the benefits that the child may get from these skills, right? So in the very bottom, remember, improving relationship, if you try to increase your empathy levels, if you play more with your child, if you try to listen to them more, right? Those type of things usually generate better attachment, right? More cooperation, and you can always solve problems better if you talk more with your child. A very typical reaction. Your child comes crying. What's the first thing that you do? Stop it. Stop crying. That's not listening, right? Just the fact of taking the time to listen and see what's going on, right? That may solve the problem. That may help them regulate and they can think more clearly, right? Now let's go up in the pyramid, improving positive behaviors. If you use praise, if you use rewards, right, that will increase the motivation of your child. If you have, let's say, clear limits, household rules, that will increase what they expect from their parents. If today you can play 5 hours of video game and tomorrow I only allow you 5 minutes, probably you will be very annoyed at me and surprised because you don't know what to expect. But if every day we have like a fixed amount of time that we kind of are okay with that, that's not, the child will not argue that, right? If every day you go to sleep and you leave the phone in, let's say, downstairs and not in your bedroom, right? There's no argument about that, right? But if one day you go to sleep with your phone and the other day you won't go to sleep with your phone, as a child, you don't know what to expect. So having clear rules avoid many arguments that happens in the everyday life when children don't know what to expect. Then, if you have mild negative behavior, sometimes ignoring them or distracting the child or redirecting the child solves the problem, right? And lately, for negative behaviors such as aggression, etc., there's where you use kind of consequences, loss of privileges, etc. Now, 99% of the parents that came to our office, usually tell us or ask us, what should I do when he's misbehaving? That's the top of the pyramid, right? Right? Let's be sure that all the other things work well before trying to do that. Because if you go directly there, the relationship will probably be impacted negatively.
Just regarding that, so we got a lot of parents who come and they would say, we've tried some of these, or sometimes we've tried all of these. Our experience is that they have not tried it the right way, or they haven't been coached well how to implement that. So that's very important, because when a parent is working with a therapist, is to make sure that they are being trained, they are being educated how to implement these interventions or these skills in an optimal way.
Yeah. And sometimes they may know the skill very well, but you need to implement them in a logical sequence, right? I may be an expert. I read everything on timeout, right? But I didn't do all the other things. Check that the flags here says the bottom of the pyramid, use liberally. Use it as much as possible, right? The top of the pyramid is use it selectively, right? The other thing is if you use it once, it may not solve the problem. You have to follow the logical sequence, and you have to implement it in a consistent way if you want to have a behavioral change. It's not easy for us to change our behavior. It's not easy for the child to change their behavior. So they need that the parents are consistent with these type of strategies.
And consistency is one of the most challenging things. I give the example of the gambling. When we play the slot machine, we play 100 times, but we win one time. And guess which one we'd remember? The one that we won. So the kid would remember the only time that you gave in and you were not consistent with them, because it's very reinforcing, and they keep pushing you to give in at other times.
Thank you. So what we'll do now is we'll present you tips for every stage of the pyramid. Yes, and I will ask you questions. Be prepared to answer them. Even those in Zoom, you're happy to reply by chat, right? So here we have the gray pyramid has the strategies that we will try to aim, and the target, and on the orange we have like the strategies that we'll try to teach.